Hello, I'm Catherine Anaya. Welcome to MHG TV. In this episode of Ascending Agents, meet entrepreneur Austin Zaback. He started in business at just 7 years old. He's 24 now, and his businesses have soared, but he is very intent on remaining grounded. You could say Austin Zaback was almost born to be an entrepreneur. He was just 7 years old, living in his grandparents' garage when he got his first business lesson.
They didn't have a lot of money when I was in the garage, right? Now we put carpet in the garage. It was a single car garage. I had a little air conditioner we put in the wall, and we did it ourselves. But he's like, look, you gotta pay your way, you gotta help, right? Like, we don't have a lot of money, blah, blah, blah.
His grandfather owned a pool company and hired Austin to clean pools, repair them, and earn his own money.
For about a year, I went with him, and he would pay me $1 a pool to help him and whatever, every day after school. And at 8 years old, he gave me 5 of my own accounts. And he said, look, here's 5 accounts I've had for a long time, built a lot of trust with these people. And they're gonna trust you because you've now been cleaning their pool for a year right alongside me, right?
He gave Austin a year to pay him back for those 5 accounts, essentially buying part of the business to then build his own.
That's where it started. He said, you have to pay me back within about a year for those 5 accounts as if you were buying part of my business, essentially. And from there, you can build your own business. And so that's where it started, right? Like that's where, and I think I had already had it in me. I wanted to always be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, I was forced into it a little bit, but I loved it. I mean, I fell in love with it, and by the time I was 10 or 11, I had like 40 accounts,
wow.
Pool accounts.
What was it that you loved about it? Was it the actual cleaning of the pools, or was it the ability to make money doing something you knew?
Initially it was the ability to make money. Here I am, I'm a kid, right? At the end of the day, 10, 11, 12 years old, living in a garage, and with total freedom, by the way, because of the way I grew up, was because my grandparents had already raised kids. And so looking back on it, I think that they were always there for me, right? Like I love them to death. They're the most amazing people ever, but I never got grounded. It wasn't traditional at all, right? Like I could basically come and go as I pleased. I mean, all I had to do is walk out of the garage door, go to the right and out the gate. And so the ability to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, with whomever I wanted, and to be able to pay for that lifestyle. Now back then, we're talking RC cars and go-peds and go-karts, right? But it evolved. But back then that was a big deal for me because that was something that either my friends couldn't afford or their parents bought it for them. And there was no appreciation there, right? And so it was a lot different for me.
Unlike his friends at that age, Austin now had money to buy whatever he wanted.
I had actually spent between like 8 years old and 15 years old, I probably blew through like $400,000 or $500,000 in cash. Right, on everything you could possibly imagine. I mean, it's every toy, everything. Nobody told me how to save my money because it was non-traditional, right? So I just blew it all.
At 15, Austin decided to sell his business.
My grandpa's like, well, you still got to pay your way. Like that air conditioner we installed in the wall isn't free.
So he took his first traditional job working at a dry cleaner.
And I hated it. I hated being told what to do and when to do it and blah, blah, blah.
Over the next 4 years, he worked more than 24 different jobs, everything from serving at restaurants to digging trenches and road construction.
Right, I always had this insane work ethic to the point where I wasn't the smartest kid in school. I wasn't the most talented, and I'd be the first to admit it, but I would always outwork anybody. I mean, there would be nobody like, I would work 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, didn't matter, right? Because I would make up for in my hard work what I lacked in my knowledge and my wisdom.
That helped set him apart and stand out when at 17, he got into network marketing.
And I actually did really well. I built a team of like 17,000 people in 8 months from all across the planet. The company bought me a Mercedes-Benz, and it was like we were traveling the world. Some of my best friends now were, I don't know if you know any of the names, but like Bob Proctor, Grant Cardone,
yep.
Gary Vaynerchuk, Les Brown, Eric Thomas. I mean, you name it. We're eating dinner with these guys. We're backstage because I'm friends with all of their friends now because I'm a part of this little, circle.
This opened up a whole new world and mind shift.
And I was like, man, like there's a lot of money in the world and there's abundance, but you have to earn it.
Austin then discovered investment real estate and fell in love with it. He quickly started building a name for himself in the industry because of his creative approach to what he was doing.
Yeah, I would represent like an investor on the investment side, make 3% as a buyer's agent, and then I would go back and I would sell it on the back end right at the same house. And we were actually doing wholesale deals too, and I don't know how many people know what it is, but the moral of the story is I was making money 3 or 4 times on one deal. And I was doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these.
As Austin's profile grew, so did his business ventures beyond real estate.
I own an ATM company, so it's like an actual, like ATMs that you would use at a store. So we're the guys that own the ATMs in all the different locations. So we do that. I also own a marketing company, marketing agency. At first it was just Instagram. All we did was Instagram. Now it's full service marketing. We do Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Google, you name it. We can build you a funnel. We can do WordPress. We can do just anything. And then I own the traditional real estate team that you see now called the Zaback Group. And I also own an investment real estate company.
He also has mini companies within each of those companies, such as online courses for marketing and for real estate.
You end up with a lot of different streams of income is what you end up with.
And he's been able to leverage social media in the last couple of years with an exceptional presence and following on Instagram and YouTube.
What's going on, guys? In this YouTube video, I got decently big, and a lot of people were like, it was just like every day, like people were like, I want to join your team, I want to do this, I want to work together, I'll pay you 10 grand to come sit in your office and just listen to and I was like,
wanted to learn.
Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, because I'd acquired so much knowledge over this period of time, over a decade. It was just insane. It got to a point where, we were Tony Robbins, right? Like all these guys, I would go to all the events for free, events that people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for, like masterminds every year. I was getting invited to speak at and I wasn't even legally able to drink.
In 2018, Austin decided to return to real estate with, he says, more intention.
And I was putting myself out there as the real estate guy, but also as the guy that did everything. And I think a lot of times now people say, hey, what do you do? And I say, what do you need?
At 24 years old, Austin is considered one of the youngest millionaires in Arizona. He will be the first to tell you, though, that he is not an overnight success.
And people forget that I own 4 companies now, but 12 of them have gone to zero. And I've lost millions of dollars, and that's what nobody talks about, right?
But he is a self-proclaimed worker bee, about 16 or 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. He says he will always take a call no matter where he is or what he's doing, because accessibility is something he also views as an investment.
And I think if you can do that, you have this massive advantage over your competition, because nobody else is doing that. Everybody else is taking the weekend off and taking all these days off. And if you can just outwork them for a short period of time, you're gonna live like they won't be able to live for the rest of your life.
Make no mistake, though, Austin's already living the good life and taking advantage of every opportunity his success affords him.
I work out. I enjoy I work out every morning. I want to get good at golf. I'm not very good right now, but I want to get a lot of business deals done on the golf course. I'm trying to teach. I hired a coach, and so I'm trying to learn. I enjoy challenging myself, as crazy as it sounds. Like, I'm this weird go type of person that a challenge is fun to me. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a little bit of a lisp with my S's. It's from, I had an expander in my mouth like 4 or 5 years ago. It doesn't bother me, nor do I care about the opinions of others. But I just hired a speech therapist about a month ago because I love the challenge of overcoming things.
Right.
So that, I want to learn how to speak another language. I want to learn how to play the piano, just random things that are if I can put my mind to something and overcome that challenge, it's a victory for me.
He's also traveled to about a dozen countries in the last 2 years, and while money was a big motivator in the beginning, it's not so much anymore.
It's okay if some of that stuff motivates you in the beginning, because you'll watch that change. I've seen some people on the internet that shame that. They're like, don't focus on the money, don't focus on the car, don't focus on the lifestyle. I kind of disagree, because it's no matter what, it's going to change. Because once you make the money, you start to learn, right? You're like, wait a minute, from 100 grand to 200 grand, my happiness level didn't change. And then you try it again. You're like, maybe 400, then it'll change. Then you get there and it's like, wait, no, that didn't help either. Okay, 800. But you only try so many times until you realize that, wait a minute, nothing's changing, right? You've achieved this lifestyle that you can live from 1 million to 2 million to 5 million. Nothing actually changes. And then ultimately your whole perspective changes.
Which is how Austin sees himself evolving already. So where does a success story like this go next? For Austin, it's about helping more people win.
The more people that win, the more I win. But it's the only way that I win, actually. When you get to a certain point where you have to help other people achieve their goals if you want to achieve yours. And that's the only way that it works.
It's your legacy.
Exactly.
Austin is always looking for ways to connect and empower other millennials who are looking to work their way up. You can find him on Instagram at Austin Zaback. Remember, to get plugged into My Home Group's endless resources, go to agentsuccessformula.com. And don't forget to subscribe to MHGTV at mhgtv.com. I'm Catherine Anaya. I'll see you next time.